Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCoursey here with Matt Watson. Hi, Matt.
What's going on, man?
Oh, man, just quarantine rhymes with borantine.
It is pretty boring.
I know. You know what's not boring right now? The world of e-commerce.
No, it's popping.
I know. I figured it'd probably be a good time for us to bring our Amazon expert back in for a little update now that the world has changed. So with us today, I have Andrew Morgans, the CEO and founder of Marknology. Hey, Andrew.
What's up, Matt?
Oh, just trying to figure out what happened while I was in Cebu. I left the country, and you guys let it all fall apart on me.
Nah, we just started buying up everything we can find.
I know I came back. All my toilet paper was gone.
I know that's
nothing
not true. I think you got a mountain.
I have nothing but lima beans left in my cabinet too. So,
well,
you
welcome
can only
back.
imagine.
We're glad to get you back.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Andrew, what's going on with Amazon, man? I have a feeling that's been quite the hot topic around the Marknology office lately.
Wow, man. Honestly, it's been day by day. It seems like every day there's been something else kind of getting dropped or released, or and so whether it's a different state, adjusting to lockdown, Amazon's gone from they've went to just being able to stock essential items, and so a lot of people have had to pivot from using Amazon's fulfillment center as their main fulfillment channel to finding alternate channels. Amazon went from 2-day delivery to sometimes 5 to 7, or just saying screw it, we're not fulfilling it. So there's a whole lot going on, a whole lot of questions. My week's been crazy.
Well, Matt, we've talked a lot about some companies in this, economy right now are winners and losers, and even people on Amazon. You got some that are big winners, and you got some that are big losers. If they sell something that's not essential, all of a sudden they might be out of business.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Amazon itself is probably a big winner. I noticed, I saw a recent news article saying that they were going to hire 100 to 150,000 people. So, Andrew, is that just to deliver essential supplies, or is that just to try to bring the whole thing back online like it had been a month ago?
I think it's to bring the whole thing online, not just the essential supplies. I mean, I try to tell brand owners, every week, like, this is a system that's mainly ran by the algorithm and robots. It really is a system ran by robots, at least probably 90% of it. So I think they're just trying to bring labor back, and get us back up to speed to where we were to be able to handle this onslaught of online shopping and e-commerce. I have brands that, we've been struggling to grow, are very competitive brands in the food space that right now are just, we're having killer days. St. Patty's Day, which is typically, it's a Tuesday, it's middle of the week, it's a holiday, a lot of people are out, celebrating parades typically and things like that. Instead, for some of my brands, we had the biggest day that they've ever had.
Interesting. Matt, have you been making more purchases on Amazon or less?
I have, and we joked about ordering that bidet a few weeks ago, but you know what? I'm looking pretty damn good right now. While everybody else is looking for toilet paper, I stocked up on bidets weeks ago, so I'm good.
I ran a hose through my window, so I'm good.
But so
Yeah.
what do they deem as essential right now on Amazon? Because I have to be honest, I went to order an ice cream scoop a couple days ago on Amazon and it said it was going to take 4 weeks to get it. And let me tell you, my pregnant wife deems that as extremely essential right now, and it is not available. So what do they deem as essential?
I think what you deem as essential and what they do is a little bit different. I think that it's category based and not so much item specific, because we have some brands, like, honestly, if you're anything in food, and a lot of medical. It's good to go. So I mean, I have steak seasoning and things that are still able to send into Amazon. And I wouldn't consider seasoning essential. Um, but if it's in that food category, it's being classified as so.
Yeah, I hear you on that. So, are you experiencing Marknology? And once again, for those of you listening, you want to learn more about how to sell more on Amazon, go to marknology.com, Marknology. And while we're at it, I should mention that today's episode of Startup Hustle is brought to you by Fullscale.io, helping you build software teams quickly and affordably. Andrew, Matt and I have been talking a lot over the last couple of weeks about the winners and losers of this whole thing. And, anytime you get economic turbulence, there's industries and companies that, find a boom time and others that get completely shut out. Are you finding that a lot of your sellers are experiencing the same thing? You don't have to get too specific, but I mean, where and how are you advising people as to whether or not this is a good time to put their sales up or not?
Well, I think if you're in e-commerce already right now, you're not really a loser. You're not losing. Think of it like Walmart and Black Friday. If they're coming there for the special on the TV, they're still in Walmart. So
Right.
they're still shopping in Walmart. So if you have a product in e-commerce, like you're getting a lot more traffic than you typically do. Um, for some of those brands, we're just having to pivot. So some of them didn't have multi-channel fulfillment set up, meaning like just a regular warehouse or a regular fulfillment center. They've only been using Amazon, so we've pivoted to that. April 5th isn't forever away, which is when they're saying they'll take non-essential items. I just have this gut feeling that it's going to be a lot longer than April 5th before Amazon's taking ice cream scoops.
And do you is that just because they don't have room in the warehouse? Or is it
Well,
a prioritization?
it's prioritization. So it's really not about room in the warehouse. It's about manpower to accept shipments and restock them.
Okay.
So Andrew,
So
if some of your customers are doing a lot of advertising on Amazon to promote their products, and now their products are getting their shipments delayed, is that really screwing with them, right? They pay a bunch of money to advertise, then the consumer goes to buy their, click on it, and then figures out they can't even get it for 4 weeks, and then they don't buy it. I would think that anybody who's advertising on Amazon has to relook at what they're doing. Maybe they shouldn't even be advertising because they can't get their product shipped fast enough.
yeah, so that's a great thought. It's actually a little bit different than that. So if it's out of stock, um, then the Amazon's ad algorithm, the way it works, it won't even show the ad. So if they
Okay, good.
sell out, there's no reason to adjust. But the long ship times do affect it. So it has less to do with if they have the item in stock right now, Amazon's doing a decent job of shipping it, in 2 to 5 days if it's in stock in FBA right now. If it's out of stock, the ads aren't even showing. Um, but there is a thought like if I can't get more items in stock, should I reduce ads for now? All of that kind of high level thinking around, well, I might not be able to stock for a while. Or conversion rates drastically drop whenever you go from FBA and Prime to
Yeah.
self fulfilled. So that is something that we've had advertising cruising for 6 months or so for a brand, and then all of a sudden they're going to self-fulfilled, and conversion rates drop drastically, and then the advertising you're doing before just isn't working now.
Well, and by the way, I mentioned my ice cream scoop, and it said it was going to take 4 weeks for delivery. Well, when I check my account now, it says it's going to be delivered today. So it actually
Yeah,
was like
I had the
a
same
1 or 2 day.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, it's not showing Prime anymore. It's not guaranteeing a certain time. And then it said it was going to be delivered like April 20th or something like that. But then yet I get it 1 day later, 2 days later. So that's crazy.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, I
very
had the same.
unlike Amazon because usually Amazon is very
I had the same
precise.
experience, Matt. Same exact experience. I mentioned I was just trying to buy some additional lighting for the outside of my house, and it was Sunday, or actually it was Saturday, and it did actually show Prime, and it said it would be there in 2 days, and it actually represented that as I bought it, and then later I got an email saying that they would be there like the equivalent of 4 or 5 days later, which honestly kind of annoys me. Because you mentioned if it's not in stock and it's not going to ship right away, would you have bought it? I wouldn't have, but then I yesterday got an email telling me it would all be here today. So I think that they don't even know when and how they're going to deliver, which feels a little un-Amazon-ish.
Yeah, that's very unlike Amazon. They're usually very precise in these things.
So Andrew, if they're not able, we've talked in the past about how selling products and using Prime as your delivery method incurs a higher fee ratio. If they're not able to do that same delivery, does that lower the fees for the sellers?
No, at least not yet. I don't know if Amazon might retroactively give some refunds or things like that. I think we really are. This is the first time they've seen this, and I think we are literally day to day. Amazon got market share trust by delivering products in 2 days. I was a little annoyed too when mine took 5 days because there used to be a time on Amazon where if it took 3 days and you were promised two, you could send it back or get your money back. And that's the trust that they built. So I think that they're just giving a little bit of grace like everybody else right now. And while we're so, you called it non-Amazon-ish, and I couldn't agree more. I'm trying to just essentially help sellers on a platform that feels very non-Amazon right now.
I mean, the overall economic effects of so much of this are yet to really be determined. I mean, but on a very simplistic level, if you sell a product, you sell it on Amazon. I'm assuming they don't pay you until it's delivered. Is that true?
Correct. So they you don't collect funds until after it's delivered. In the same way, you can't review it ahead of time or any number of things like that. If you're selling where there's different ways of selling on Amazon. So if we're selling through Vendor Central, which is more of like a wholesale retail relationship, as soon as Amazon purchases the product from the brand, Amazon owns it. So you're paid right then. If we're more of
But outside of that, that's going to remarkably slow down the life cycle of your own cash, which is going to result in your inability to pay vendors, to pay employees, to pay rent. And it's just an extension of this overall ripple effect that's going on that as a result of it's even just a few days or a week of slowness or a downtick in sales. I was reading an article today that said that the average small business has 27 days of cash. Like that's just until it's gone. And then on some businesses like restaurants, the average was more like 16. So, with some of the things that are related to economic stimulus and the things that they're trying to get out there and pass, the real question is it going to fucking happen soon enough? And I think that's what everyone's worried about. I mean, Matt, what's your take on the overall ripple effect of the slowness, the slow play?
Well, I think one of us gets slow paid, and then we slow pay the next person, and they slow pay the
Right.
next person, and it's definitely a huge domino effect, right? I mean,
It's literally pay it backwards, not forwards.
yeah, I mean, and we have at Stackify, we have some of our customers have reached out and asked if they can have a discount, and all of a sudden we have to call our vendors and say, hey, can we have a discount? We're going to pay our bills a little slow, and I mean, yeah, you got weeks of time that are going to get added on the back end of this stuff at a
Does that
discount.
mean you're going to ask me for a discount?
Yeah, absolutely, it's coming.
Damn it. Oh, Andrew, what's your take on all this? Like, what are you hearing from your clients and customers?
Well, I think that you're right on it as far as the delays, and we have 45 brands here that we manage, so it's a whole lot of conversations,
Yeah.
a whole lot of different conversations, and I know that some of my brands are just absolutely crushing it right now. I say that because we're doing 10x of what they normally do
Yep.
sometimes.
Wow.
Um,
What kind of categories are those right now?
Food specifically, but there's some outliers too, like toothbrushes and games, board games, card games.
I
A lot
see.
of stuff that kind of satisfies, the at-home user, but mostly food or supplements or vitamins, immune boosters. We got a lot of local local businesses in Kansas City here that are taking advantage of that, like Balance the Superfood Shot. They're Life Equals, so they're kind of like all the veggies you need in a
Oh,
shot,
wow. Yeah.
and they're absolutely
I think that's our guest tomorrow or
awesome.
soon. Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. So we'll see what's up with that. And maybe if we can get a delivery. Matt, this would probably be a good time for us to do that Ruby Jeans juice fast that we were promised.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
We need to, and by the way, just so you know, I found 90 snow pops in my freezer the other day. So who wins now?
I
Well,
win
maybe you'll
half
That's
of
need
them.
right.
them all the way. Hold them all the way into summer. They might be worth something.
I'm holding them until I feel like not holding them, buddy. And you'll know, because if you get a text from me at like 3 a.m. and it's incoherent, that means I got into the snow pops. I mean, it does. Andrew, what are some of the categories that aren't winning in Amazon right now?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of those extra purchases. Everybody's like a little bit tight with their purse strings, and I think that's where the economy is really going to feel it. And I think that's where everybody is never no. I'm sorry, nobody has ever been through this, at least just like this. And so I think there's a level of hesitation, either on ad spend or different things like that. So because of that, there's not a ton of extra spend on some of those items that are just maybe not non-essential. You'd be surprised, like things like bicycle parts are taking off because it's
Oh,
considered an
yeah.
essential item. Bicycles are,
Hmm.
and things that are not would be decorative things. So like decor. I'm seeing a downtick in like outdoor decorations. I've got a couple of brands that do well there.
What
But
about
really,
clothing?
clothing as well. I have less clothing brands directly right now, so I'm not able to see a ton of that. But I would assume clothing is down as well. I think what's really going to happen, guys, is this week and next week. I've told you it's day by day, but as we have different lockdowns, whereas some of my businesses weren't really affected and it was business as usual, some of those businesses, either by choice or by government decree, will not be going into work. And so I think I'm really, really going to see how it affects us, whether we're changing handling time of self-fulfilling orders, whether we're changing availability of stock, whether we're shutting accounts down on vacation. And you talk about that cash flow issue. Me as a business owner as well, I'm looking into just what are my options in case some of my vendors are late to pay or asking for an extension. One can only know how all of these changes are going to affect them.
I have a little bit of relevant information related to that, just because that's something for the last 2 weeks that we've definitely been keeping our finger on the pulse of at full scale. So by the time this episode comes out, let's hope that the fucking Democrats and Republicans decided to agree on something. But one thing that has already occurred is they have released a serious amount of government disaster relief loans. And this is a branch of the SBA, the Small Business Administration. Go to sba.gov. And you can apply if your state has declared any kind of disaster zone, which pretty much all of them have. You can apply. Now, once again, this is a loan, but they're insanely long repayment terms, especially when it comes to anything related to. You can actually go to disasterloan.sba.gov. And so with that, the government has opened up a large tranche of lending for businesses. Now you have to be prepared to explain how you were affected. Like how did all of this affect you? And it could be a number of things. Like you can cover payroll, vendor expenses, rent, stuff like that. And with that, you can get. I think they go up to like $2 million and anywhere from, I think it's like 3.5% to 4% for 30 years, which is insane, by the way. Like, how much can I get? was the question I said after that. And then with the stimulus package that they're apparently going to agree on today, and we're recording this, I usually don't timestamp episodes, but we're recording this on Tuesday, March 24th in the morning. And with the stimulus package, they have $350 billion of SBA loans that go out. And those are under SBA's prime offering, which is called the 7A loan. It's normally a long process to get through, and they have found some ways to streamline it. But with those are loans that are guaranteed by the government and are through traditional lenders like your bank. So you can call any bank. The SBA has 1,800 partner banks, and you can actually apply for those. And I believe they're going to be relaxing some of the requirements. But with that, I think that the government and the people that administer these loans and the applications realize that they have to push these through a lot faster than they have in the past, which is going to create a little bit of rubber stamping. Maybe some people getting some loans or some money. Like, once again, it's not free money. It is just a loan. But that can right the ship. And when you're looking at a 30-year repayment at 4%, and Matt, you remember when we were playing with loan percentages once on like a 3-year note, and like 14, 12, 10, like there wasn't really a big difference in that. So 4% is basically equal to what inflation runs. So there's not a whole lot of juice in there. Were you aware of those products, Andrew?
I am actually. So this semester, I guess if you want to call it that, I've been part of a small business accelerator with Babson.
Oh, that's right.
Goldman Sachs, and
we talked about that last time you were on, and then the world fell apart, and we forgot to follow up.
Yeah, they've actually. It feels like I'm with Central Command or HQ with Babson College. I was on a conference call with President Trump actually through the school. And he was just talking to small businesses and talking about the loans you're talking about. And they have someone from the small business administration that's part of Babson. So we're getting kind of exactly what you're saying from someone that's high up there. Missouri actually just got, I think, turned on to as a disaster zone yesterday or maybe the night before. So I was kind of primed and waiting to go. My application's probably like 75% done. Yesterday, the site just wouldn't work for me.
Yeah, that's what we found, the same thing.
So I'm definitely trying to take advantage. It's not, honestly, at this moment, I'm not needing anything like that, but just trying to be prepared for the future, trying to be prepared for these vendors going down this week or next week, pulling the plugs. It's been crazy for me to see, as a younger business owner, as a newer business owner, it's been crazy for me to see how fast businesses can fold up.
Oh yeah.
It's been maybe 2 weeks of this. So it's been, at the week mark, there was a lot. And at the second week mark, we're going to have a lot. And I'm expecting more. I think Babson says that 30% of small businesses are expected to close during this kind of disaster.
That, by the way, that's tens of millions.
Yes.
If that's the case.
I think there's about 29.5 million small businesses. Most of those are solopreneurs or contractors and things like that. But 30% is what they're expected. This is the number one entrepreneurship college, so they've just been cranking out information. It's been cool. They've actually stopped class for the time being, of course, and instead all of the instructors, all of the virtual business advisors, faculty are into go mode, trying to save as many businesses as they can.
Good luck.
Yeah. So,
Matt, do you have any? Matt, are you planning on chasing down any disaster relief? If you guys, as Stackify, have that on the radar?
I think I'm going to try and see if, it's something we're eligible for. I'm not sure if we're the type of business that they're targeting, because we're more of a B2B SaaS company. I don't know. We're going to try though. Yeah, we're going to try. We'll see what they say. I mean, if we can borrow money real cheaply, why not? Let's do it.
Yeah, and like Andrew said, our Daryl, Full Scale COO, was trying to get through that process yesterday. And he was like, he used to work at the company that when we had a ticket company, and every now and then we'd see these off-brand ticket sites that had a major artist performing, and the tickets would go on sale, and the site would just get crushed, like you're sitting there like putting things in the shopping cart trying to finish a transaction, and it's basically like, yeah, suck it, you're not getting these. So he said I think he finally got the application through after about 4 hours of trying. Is that the same experience you had yesterday, Andrew?
Yeah, so I didn't try for 4 hours. I'll be honest. I was running around kind of like crazy, taking calls and things like that. But it was just like it would cycle, 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 cycle. You get in, and then you can't download the form that you need, and it's
Yeah.
recommending 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. to do stuff. But I tried it about midnight last night, and it was kind of doing the same thing. So I'll keep giving it a try. But like you said, there are a bunch of other ways of getting funding. Something they call bridge loans, which is essentially getting a loan to cover the SBA loan in the meantime. So if you can't get the SBA loan as fast as you need, look into some of those sites like Kiva that do small business loans. I know locally we've got Alt Cap that is looking to help small businesses here in Kansas City, and I know Davin is someone that is looking to help. So I'm really I want to put out there on the podcast today on a Tuesday that if anyone needs any advice about e-commerce, Amazon, the marketplaces, and I have the time, I'm willing to try to help you pivot your business. I'm seeing one thing that's really awesome has just been seeing all of these businesses kind of go back to their entrepreneur roots, which is really fun for me. Just seeing how, alcohol companies are changing to make cleaning products, and restaurants are going, online, or making fresh food deliveries with Postmates and things like that. So it's really cool seeing kind of the entrepreneurial spirit come out of all this. If we're looking for a silver lining, and if anyone's looking to pivot or just get advice, I want to put it out there that I'm willing to help.
And how do they reach you, Andrew?
Andrew at Marknology.com, or just www.marknology.com. You'll be able to find a contact there, and we'll get a hold of you.
I usually try to throw Watson under the bus whenever people are offering online advice, right, Matt?
Andrew, do you have any like generic advice you'd give to anybody that is doing e-commerce or should be doing e-commerce right now? Do you have any like just generic tips?
Yeah, so I mean, even brick and mortars and retail stores are going online and finding ways to like FaceTime shop with customers and things like that. So I would just say that e-commerce is not going anywhere. And right now there's so much traffic there. You have so many people's attention on their cell phones, on their iPads, on their computers right now, with everyone being at home and being on lockdown. So even if you don't have a website, or you're not trying to sell on Amazon, if you have a digital presence, you're on LinkedIn, you have social media, try to create value for people right now. It's the best look for your brand. Don't be pushing sale, those hard sales. I'm unsubscribing so fast from all these e-commerce and web hard sales right now, and really just looking for those businesses and those people that are out there online trying to give out help. So, generic advice is, really take a step back from your business and see if there's some way that online can be a value to you or a use to you. Think outside the box. I know I have coffee shops that are selling in liquor stores because liquor stores are going to stay open. So it really is just right now about taking a step back and doing things probably differently than you have been. And if you're in the e-commerce space, it's just a matter of pivoting and taking advantage of where we're at right now. I know that at Marknology, I don't know, Matt, we haven't talked some specific details in a minute. Last time we talked was about Babson, but Marknology has started offering fulfillment services out of our new office location. There's probably 4 or 5 brands in the last 2 weeks that have been getting product to me. to be able to ship for them if New York goes in complete lockdown, or some of these businesses that don't have the essential categorization. And so we're able to, at least short term, be able to help them ship product and get product either off to Amazon or ship it directly. So I mean, it's hard. There's so much advice, Watson, to give, and kind of really depends on the business. But online is where the attention is, and I think that's where our focus should be.
Matt, what's your generic advice?
Man, if it's not bolted down, sell it. That's my advice right now.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree. I think I think if I had to give my generic advice, it's like, there's I used to work for this guy named Buddy, and he used to say, you got to put your sails up when the wind's blowing. So if the wind's blowing for you right now, one of the things that the Master Watson and I were talking about was relative to what you had mentioned earlier, Matt, with online advertising. Now, keep in mind, all that CPC stuff is an auction. So if there's less bidders in that auction, you might find some value in there. So, there could be a silver lining and be able to target and push specific products that you sell via e-commerce. I think another thing that I think my advice would also be to under promise and over deliver. And I think that's what Amazon was probably doing by telling us it was going to be 6 days and then getting it here in 4. I think that people are stressed out right now. And if you're selling something that they think they need or want in a faster timeline, and you're going to take 3 times as long to get that there, I think you need to be very open and tell people, like, we are experiencing delays. I think right now in this given climate, people are going to be a lot more understanding of that. But at the same time, if you're selling something that someone else deems as essential, don't tell them it's going to be there in 2 days if it's going to be there in 7, because
Right.
that can have a level of that can detract from your brand significantly. And then also just on a general level of responsibility, like I said, if you're selling the ice cream scoop, sorry, Watson, I'm not as concerned about your rapid delivery, but there are other things that people might be counting on or needing that without, if you're over promising and under delivering, not so good either.
Right. It's communicate, 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 communicate.
Is this also a good time to mention that the Mixtape app is available on iOS and Android, and if you have a Spotify premium account, you can play with your friends for free?
It's a great time to mention that.
I know we took the paid part off of it. We want people to just go have fun and play. So maybe we can do that later. So we're going to try to get back into our normal routine of doing things here on Startup Hustle. And we like to do the founders freestyle here at the end. Andrew, what would you like to say that just kind of summarizes anything, or I don't know, here's the mic.
Well, I would just, I want small business owners to stay positive. And, I talked about our roots being entrepreneurship. And I feel like this week I've seen a ton of those characteristics and personality traits come out with everyone I'm talking to. So just go back to your roots, try to remember why you're doing this thing that you're doing, and try to remember your origins. And we just got to stick together. I think this is one of those times in America where you can really help others. And you'll find that in doing so, some of your best ideas, your best creativity can really come out. At least that's what seems to be the case for me. And, this isn't a time to fold. I think this is a time to double or triple down. When brand owners are asking me what to do, I'm like, everybody's going to shrink up. Everybody's going to put their hands in their pockets and kind of just wait to see what happens. But like you said, with the PPC and the bidding, this is also a time that you can go, you can triple down and take advantage of those low bids, take advantage of people being out of stock. If you can operate at a higher, faster, better level, there's a huge opportunity right now to come out of this thing even stronger than you were. So I guess that'd be my advice: is just understand your situation, take a true assessment of where you are, and it might be the time to triple down instead of getting conservative.
Master Watson.
Well, I think at this point it's all about survival and figuring out if you're a winner or loser in this deal. And as we mentioned earlier, there are certain categories for e-commerce right now that are definitely booming. One of the first things I purchased actually online a few days ago was some toys to play with my kids outside in the front yard, because we got to do a lot more of that now. And I think it's just trying to figure out, do you weather the storm, or is now the time to really ramp up? It's e-commerce is just like all the other types of businesses right now. There's winners and losers, and just trying to figure out what side of it you're on. And if you're on the losing side, figuring out how do you just survive this and make it out the other side and pick business back up later.
Thank you, gentlemen. When I used to live in Indianapolis, they had this place called Conner Prairie, which was one of those like Western settlers, like places where you walk in and everything had turned itself back in time. There's like some lady there making butter, and you're like, well, where do you put it in the refrigerator? And the actor's like, I don't know what a refrigerator is. What is that? I'm really hoping that my experience at Conner Prairie is not going to become a reality for what I'm going to have to do in and around my house. So with that, the dependency on e-commerce and the things that it can deliver and bring to us, like I would much rather have the butter delivered than to try to churn it myself. So we're really counting on the e-commerce people to get all that figured out. When it comes to that, I think there's also I've seen some creative things, like bundling of products. Like if you sell hand gel, and why not bundle that up with 2 other products? Create some creative packaging, do something to lighten your inventory. I think that during times like this, I used to work in retail management, and these are the times that you want to have the thinnest level of inventory as possible. You want to sell through as much as you can, have that inventory level as low and as lean as possible, especially for items that don't statistically move quickly. I think if you sell anything, that it's a good time to look at what you sell and say, is this a need or is this a want? And if it's a true want, like people just want it, they don't necessarily need it, I think you have to once again be careful about what levels of inventory you're keeping things at, what you're spending on marketing. And I think in Congress, with all of that, I don't think you can trust any numbers that you have relied on up to this point, as far as like how many clicks it would take to make a sale, what that cost of acquisition is, or any of that. Because we're going to be rewriting the new standards for a while. And that said, just be real careful. Keep your finger on the pulse of the money coming in and out of your business like you never have before. You guys have anything else to add?
No, I think that was great advice, Matt. I think it is just about keeping a finger on your pulse and being as creative as you can be to find a way to give value back to customers. And like I said, remember your core. And if you're doing that really well, you're going to be all right. So like Watson said, if you either have to weather the storm or pivot. I know restaurants that are closing up that are now going to, shipping out fresh food locally, and they just don't have a restaurant anymore. They're just going all online. So, no, that's it.
And Andrew, there's one other thing we didn't talk about that we should have probably talked about in this. Are some of your clients concerned about their supply chain and actually having product to sell?
Yeah, it's interesting because China's actually back in business. And it will be interesting to see how that unfolds. With the virus lasting, I think it's 3 days, on goods and things like that. So stuff coming back from China, as far as that's concerned, should be good to go. We also have local manufacturers. That's where the alcohol companies turning into cleaning products and different things like that. I think that is a real concern. I don't think it's a real concern today. Okay, because
I'll add to add to it. I just got a notification on my phone here. The entire country of India is now in lockdown. 1.3 billion people all must stay at home for the next 21 days.
That's insane, and it's greatly going to affect us in some way. I know I was talking about this whole thing, and I was like, as far as facts go, a lot of us are just like, where do we check these facts? How do we know if it's true? Where is it coming from? You know, all of those what ifs. And when California went on lockdown, I said, hey, that's the first fact for sure that I'm positive about. I know that 30, 40 million people, you know, not going to work or not spending money in the economy is really going to affect us. You know, I think it's a matter of we don't know what to expect. Predictions are not a thing anymore. And there's a whole lot of people that won't be working, that will be figuring things out, but there's a whole lot of people that are just fine working from home in 2020. So there's still going to be commerce. There's still going to be you know, purchases and amenity purchases and games for the front yard and things like that. Just what are those products? What are those industries? What can be remade here in the U.S. that hasn't been for a while? People can pivot to that. If they couldn't beat India's pricing, you know, maybe they can pivot quickly and be offering something that used to be come over at a lot cheaper price. Who's to say? It's going to be really, really interesting to see.
Well, I think we could probably do a whole follow-up episode on supply chain issues. Now, once again, Andrew, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and end this episode because I got to hurry up and get an ice cream scooper over to Watson's house.
Yes.
See
Thanks,
y'all next
everybody.
time.
Thanks, guys.